The first warning came from the elders. Not shouted, not threatened, just spoken softly, the way people speak when they believe tradition itself is on their side. "You may travel the stars," Elder Harrow had said, his hands folded behind his back, "but some lines are not meant to be crossed." Ethan Vale listened politely, as he always did. He had grown up doing so. He was a cultural liaison for the Terran Union, trained to navigate first contact, ceremonial protocol, and the countless invisible rules that governed alien societies. He believed deeply in tradition, human tradition. Rituals mattered. Stories mattered. The past mattered. That was precisely why no one expected him to fall in love with an alien woman. Least of all him. Ethan met Leary on the third moon of Karesh, a world wrapped in amber skies and floating stone terraces. The Kareshi were an ancient species, tall and graceful, with softly luminescent skin that shifted hue with emotional resonance. Their culture revolved around continuity, unchanged ceremonies practiced for thousands of cycles. Leary was an archivist. She spent her days preserving ancestral memories encoded in crystalline matrices, each one holding generations of thought and emotion. When Ethan first encountered her, she was kneeling before a glowing archive shard, her hands hovering reverently above it. "You're touching history," he said, meaning it as a joke. She looked up, her eyes reflecting starlight. "History touches us first," she replied. That was how it began. Their conversations were cautious at first, academic, respectful. Ethan asked about Kareshi lineage customs. Leary asked about human storytelling. They debated whether tradition existed to protect people or to restrain them. Neither realized how closely those questions would one day apply to them. The Kareshi were not hostile to humans, but they were wary. Interspecies relationships were rare, not forbidden but discouraged by weight rather than law. Marriage, in particular, was considered sacred, a binding not just of individuals, but of ancestral lines and future memory. Humans, Ethan knew, had their own complications. Earth's governments were progressive on paper, but public opinion lagged behind policy. An interspecies marriage involving a high-ranking liaison would attract attention, scrutiny, and judgment. Ethan and Leary did not rush. Their bond formed slowly, built on shared curiosity and quiet moments, walking beneath Karesh's drifting stone arches, exchanging stories of childhood rituals, listening to each other's silences. When Ethan finally realized what he felt, it unsettled him deeply. "This changes everything," he told her one evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon. Leary's skin glowed a soft violet, Kareshi for reflection. "Yes," she said simply. "It does." The decision to marry was not impulsive. It came after months of discussion, hesitation, and careful consideration of consequences. They spoke of cultural loss, political backlash, and the possibility that neither world would fully accept them. "What if we belong nowhere?" Ethan asked. Leary reached for his hand, a gesture she had learned from humans. "Then we build somewhere new." When Ethan formally requested permission under Kareshi custom, the response was immediate and heavy. The Council of Continuance convened. Ancient beings, some centuries old, gathered in a hall carved from living crystal. Leary stood beside Ethan, her posture steady, her light restrained. "You asked to bind your life to one not of Karesh," the council speaker said. "Do you understand what this risks?" "I do," Leary replied. "And I accept it." They turned to Ethan. "You would marry without shared ancestry, without memory compatibility, without certainty of continuation." Ethan swallowed. Humans marry without certainty every day. Love has never guaranteed outcomes. Only commitment. The council did not answer immediately. Tradition required time. News traveled faster than official decisions ever did. On Earth, debate ignited across media channels. Some praised the union as a symbol of unity. Others called it reckless, accusing Ethan of diluting human identity or jeopardizing diplomatic neutrality. On Karesh, whispers spread through the terraces. Some saw Leary as brave. Others saw her as abandoning her lineage. Pressure came from all sides. Ethan was offered reassignment, quietly, politely. This would be easier, his superior suggested. Leary was asked to step down from her archivist role, temporarily. Until the matter resolves, they said. One night, standing beneath the stars between their worlds, Ethan finally voiced the fear he had been holding back. What if love isn't enough? Leary's glow dimmed, then steadied. Tradition survives because people believe in it, she said. So does change. The council's verdict came at last. The marriage would be allowed, but only if both were willing to honor both traditions fully. A dual ceremony, unprecedented in Kareshi history. Human vows alongside Kareshi memory binding. Two cultures, unaltered, sharing the same moment. Failure to complete either ritual would nullify the union. It was not a compromise. It was a test. Preparation took months. Ethan studied Kareshi resonance practices, learning how to still his thoughts so Leary could share ancestral memory with him. Leary learned human vows, their emphasis on spoken promise rather than inherited memory. Neither found it easy. On the day of the ceremony, the platform floated between worlds, neutral space, surrounded by stars. Humans stood on one side, Kareshi on the other. Silence fell. The human ceremony came first. Ethan spoke of choice, of standing beside someone not because tradition demanded it, but because love did. His voice did not shake, though his hands did. Then came the Kareshi rite. Leary placed her hands against a memory crystal, inviting Ethan to share the echo of her lineage, not to inherit it, but to witness it. The sensation was overwhelming. Generations of lives, joys, losses, and hopes washing over him. He did not resist. When it ended, the platform was silent once more. The council's speaker stepped forward. The union is recognized, they said. Not because tradition demanded it, but because it endured it. Ending years later, historians would mark that day as a quiet turning point. Ethan and Leary did not become symbols overnight. They lived simply, dividing their time between Earth and Karesh, teaching cultural studies and advising new interspecies unions that followed in their wake. Tradition did not vanish. It evolved. Human children learned Kareshi stories. Kareshi youth studied human vows. Marriage laws expanded. Ceremonies adapted. And when asked whether it had been difficult, whether the weight of two worlds had ever felt too heavy, Ethan would smile and say, "Tradition taught us where we came from. Love taught us where we could go." Leary's skin would glow warmly beside him, her hand resting in his. Between the stars, they had not abandoned tradition. They had carried it forward, together.